Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Sutta Uvacha Aho Vayam Janma Pratodyahamsa Vriddhanuvrityapi Vilomajata Doshkuryamadim Vidhunoti Shikram Mahatamanam Abhidhana Yoga.
Sri Sutta Goswami said, O God, although we are born in a mixed caste, we are still promoted in birthright simply by serving and following the great, who are advanced in knowledge. Even by conversing with such great souls, one can without delay cleanse oneself of all disqualifications resulting from lower births.
Kuta punargrinnato nama tasya mahatame kanta parayanasya yonanta shaktir bhagavan ananto mahad gunadvadyamanantamahu.
And what to speak of those who are under the direction of the great devotees, chanting the holy name of the Unlimited, who has unlimited potency. The personality of Godhead, unlimited in potency and transcendental by attributes, is called the Ananta, unlimited.
Etavatalam nanushuchitena gunera samyanatishayanasya hitveteran prarathayato vibhutir yasyangrirenum jushatena vishpu.
It is now ascertained that He, the personality of Godhead, is unlimited, and there is none equal to Him. Consequently, no one can speak of Him adequately. Great demigods cannot obtain the favor of the goddess of fortune even by prayers, but this very goddess renders service unto the Lord, although He is unwilling to have such service.
Athapi yatpadanakhavasrashtam jagat vinichoparatharhanamba shesham punatyantamatmo mukundat vikomnamaloke bhagavat padarata.
Who can be worthy of the name of the Supreme Lord but the personality of Godhead Sri Krishna? Brahmaji collected the water emanating from his nails of his feet in order to award it to Lord Shiva as a worshipful welcome. This very water, the Ganges, is purifying the whole universe, including Lord Shiva.
Yatra nurakta sahaseva dhira vyapo yadehadishu sangamudham vrajanti tatparamahamsyamantyam yasmin ahimsopashama swadharma.
Self-controlled persons who are attached to the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna can all of a sudden give up the world of material attachment, including the gross body and subtle mind, and go away to attain the highest perfection of the renounced order of life, by which non-violence and renunciation are consequential.
Aham hi prashtorya mano bhavadve achaksha atma vagamo trayavan na bhapatantyatma samam patatrinas tatha samam vishnu gatim vipashyata.
O Rishis, who are as powerfully pure as the sun, I shall try to describe to you the transcendental pastimes of Vishnu as far as my knowledge is concerned. As the birds fly in the sky as far as their capacity allows, so do the learned devotees describe the Lord as far as their realization allows.
Ekadadhanurudyamya vicharan mragayam vane mृगानानुगतश्रान्ता क्षुदिस्तस्त्रिषितो भृशं जलाशयम् अकाक्षान्य प्रविवेशातमाश्रमं ददर्शमुनिमासीनं शान्तमीलितलोकनम्.
Once upon a time, Maharaj Parikshit, when engaged in hunting in the forest with bow and arrows, became extremely fatigued, hungry, and thirsty while following the stags. While searching for a reservoir of water, he entered the hermitage of a well-known Shamika Rishi and saw the sage sitting silently with closed eyes.
Pratiruthendriya prana मनोबुद्धिम् अपारतं स्थानत्रयात् परं प्राप्तं ब्रह्मभूतं न विक्रियम्.
The many sense organs, breath, mind, and intelligence were all restrained from material activities, and he was situated in a trance apart from the three wakefulness, dream, and unconsciousness, having achieved a transcendental position qualitatively equal with the Supreme Absolute.
विप्रकीर्णजताचन्नं रौरवेनाजिनेन च विशुष्यत्तालुरुद्धकं तथा भूतं मया च ता.
The sage, in meditation, was covered by the skin of a stag, and long compressed hair was scattered all over him. The king, whose palate was dry from thirst, asked him for water.
अलब्धा तृणभूम्यादे असम्प्राप्तार्घ्यसूनृता अवज्ञातमिवात्मानं मन्यमानश्चुप्कोपः.
The king, not received by any formal welcome by means of being offered a seat, place, water, and sweet addresses, considered himself neglected, and so, thinking, he became angry.
अभूतपूर्वसहसा क्षुत्रभ्यामार्दितात्मना ब्रह्मणं प्रत्युभात् ब्रह्मन् मत्सरो मन्युरेव च.
O Brahmanas, the king's anger and envy directed toward the Brahmana sage were unprecedented, being that circumstances had made him hungry and thirsty.
स तु ब्रह्मा ऋषेरंसे गतासुं मुरगं रुषा विनिर्गच्छन् धनुष्कोत्या निधाय पुरमागता.
While leaving, the king, being so insulted, picked up a lifeless snake with his bow and angrily placed it on the shoulder of the sage. Then he returned to his palace.
एष किं निभृतिस्ताशेषा करणो मीलिते क्षणा मृषा सम्माधिराहोपसित् सित् किं नु क्षत्रबन्धुभिः.
Upon returning, he began to contemplate and argue within himself whether the sage had actually been in meditation with senses concentrated and eyes closed, or whether he had just been feigning trance to avoid receiving the lower kshatriya.
तस्य पुत्रोऽति तेजस्वी विहरान् बालकोर्भके रख्यागं प्रापितं तातं श्रुत्वा तत्रेदमब्रवीत्.
The sage had a son who was very powerful, being a Brahmana's son. While he was playing with inexperienced boys, he heard of his father's distress, which was occasioned by the king. Then and there the boy spoke as follows.
अहो अधर्मपालानां पीव्नां बलिभुजामिव स्वामिनघम्य दासानां द्वारपानं शुनामिव.
The Brahmana's son Shringi said, "Oh, just look at the sins of the rulers who, like crows and watchdogs at the door, perpetrate sins against their masters, contrary to the principles governing servants."
ब्राह्मणे क्षत्रबन्धुर्हि गृहपालो निरूपिता स कथं तद्गृहे द्वास्ता सभान्दं भोक्तुमर्हति.
The descendants of the kingly orders are definitely designated as watchdogs, and they must keep themselves at the door. On what grounds can dogs enter the house and claim to dine with this master on the same plate?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, nice recitations. Thank you very much. So, Jyoti Mataji, can I share my screen?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, yes, you are the host now.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I guess everyone can see my screen.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much. Which screen? What verse you can see?
18, Prabhuji. 118.
118. Okay. It's something strange here. Yeah, we will start now. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamutire Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki Yam Pravrajantam Anupet Krityam Dvaipayano Virahaka Tara Aju Ava Putreti Tanmayatayo Taravo Vinedus Tam Sarvabhuta Hridayam Mulimanatosmi.
Don't let me help you out right now.
So we are going to have a session, a discussion on 18th verse and 19th verse of 18th chapter of the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. So we will start. Suta Uvacha Aho Vayam Janna Bhutodhyahasma Vruddhan Vrityapi Viloma Jataha Daushkulyamadhim Vidunoti Shighram Mahattamanama Bhidhana Yogaha. So let's read the translation and a purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation: Sri Sutta Goswami said, O God, although we are born in a mixed caste, we are still promoted in birthright simply by serving and following the great who are advanced in knowledge. Even by conversing with such great souls, one can without delay cleanse himself of all disqualifications resulting from lower births. Purport: Suta Goswami did not take his birth in Brahman family. He was born in a family of mixed caste or an uncultured low family. But because of higher association like Sri Sukadeva Goswami and the great rishis of Naimisharanya, certainly the disqualification of inferior birth was washed off. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu followed this principle in pursuance of the Vedic usages. And by his transcendental association, he elevated many low-born or those disqualified by birth or action to the status of devotional service and established them in the position of acharyas or authorities. He clearly stated that by that any man, whatever he may be, whether a Brahmana or Shudra by birth, or a householder or mendicant in the order of society, if he is conversant with the science of Krishna, he can be accepted as an acharya or guru. A spiritual master. Suta Goswami learned the science of Krishna from great rishis and authorities like Shukdev and Vyasadeva, and he was so qualified that even the sages of Naimisharanya eagerly wanted to hear from him the science of Krishna in the form of Srimad Bhagavatam. So he had the double association of great souls by hearing and preaching. Transcendental science, or the science of Krishna, has to be learned from the authorities, and when one preaches the science, he becomes still more qualified. So Suta Goswami had both the advantages, and thus undoubtedly he was completely freed from all disqualifications of low birth and mental agonies. This verse definitely proves that Srila Sukadeva Goswami did not refuse to teach Suta Goswami about the transcendental science, nor did the sages of Naimisharanya refused to hear lessons from him because of his inferior birth. This means that thousands of years ago, there was no bar to learning or preaching the transcendental science because of inferior birth. The rigidity of so-called caste system in Hindu society became prominent within only 100 years or so when the number of Dvijabandhus or disqualified men in the families of higher castes increased. Lord Sri Chaitanya revived the original Vedic system and he elevated Thakur Haridas to the position of Namacharya, or the authority in preaching the glories of the holy name of the Lord. Although His Holiness Srila Haridas Thakur was pleased to appear in the family of Mohammedans. Such is the power of pure devotees of the Lord. The Ganges water is accepted as pure, and one can become purified after taking a bath in the waters of the Ganges. But as far as the great devotees of the Lord are concerned, they can purify a degraded soul even by being seen by the low-born, and what to speak of association. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted to purify the whole atmosphere of the polluted world by sending qualified preachers all over the world, and it remains with the Indians to take up this task scientifically and thus to do the best kind of humanitarian work. The mental diseases of the present generation are more acute than bodily diseases. It is quite fit and proper to take up the preaching of Srimad Bhagavatam all over the world without delay. Mahattavanam Abhidhana also means dictionary of great devotees, or a book full of words of great devotees. Such a dictionary of words of great devotees and those of the Lord are the Vedas and allied literatures, specifically the Srimad Bhagavatam. Let's go to the next verse. So 19th verse. Punar Grunato Namatasya Mahattamaikanta Parayanasya Yonanta Shaktir Bhagavanananto Mahad Gunan Gunatvad Yamanandamahu. Translation. And what to speak of those who are under the direction of great devotees, chanting the holy name of the Unlimited, who has unlimited potency, the personality of Godhead, unlimited in potency and transcendental by attributes, is called Ananta, unlimited, purport by Srila Prabhupada. The Dvijabandhu, or the less intelligent, uncultured men born of higher castes, put forward many arguments against the lower caste men becoming Brahmanas in this life. They argue that birth in the family of Shudras or less than Shudras is made possible by one's previous sinful acts, and that one therefore has to complete the terms of disadvantages due to lower birth. And to answer these false logicians, Srimad Bhagavatam asserts that one who chants the holy name of the Lord under the direction of a pure devotee can at once get free from the disadvantages due to a lower caste birth. A pure devotee of the Lord does not commit any offense while chanting the holy name of the Lord. There are 10 different offenses in the chanting of the holy name of the Lord. To chant the holy name under the direction of a pure devotee is offenseless chanting. Offenseless chanting of the holy name of the Lord is transcendental, and therefore such chanting can at once purify one from the effects of all kinds of previous sins. This offenseless chanting indicates that one has fully understood the transcendental nature of the holy name and has thus surrendered unto the Lord. Transcendently, the holy name of the Lord and the Lord himself are identical, being absolute. The holy name of the Lord is as powerful as the Lord. The Lord is the all-powerful personality of Godhead, and he has innumerable names, which are all non-different from him and are equally powerful also. In the last word of the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord asserts that one who surrenders unto him fully unto him is protected from all sins by the grace of the Lord. Since his name and he himself are identical, the holy name of the Lord can protect the devotee from all effects of sins. The chanting of the holy name of the Lord can undoubtedly deliver one from the disadvantages of the lower caste birth. The Lord's unlimited power is extended on and on by the unlimited expansion of the devotees and incarnations, and thus every devotee of the Lord and incarnations also can be equally surcharged with the potency of the Lord. Since the devotee is surcharged with the potency of the Lord, even fractionally, the disqualification due to lower birth cannot stand in the way. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So let's chant the invocation and then we will start our discussion. Om Ajnantimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshuronmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupakadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tvam Sajivam Sadvaitam Saavadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesh Gopika Kant Radha Kant Namostate तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी ऋषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये नमो ओम विष्णुपादाय कृष्ण पृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिन् इति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे वाञ्छकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवास आदि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे हरे जानुलंबितकुचौ कनकावधातौ संकीर्तनैकपितरौ कमलायताक्षौ विश्वम्भरौ द्विजभरौ युगधर्मपालौ वन्दे जगत्प्रियकरौ करुणावतारौ यन्तः प्रविश्य मम वाचमिमां प्रसूक्तां सञ्जीवयत्य अखिलशक्तिधरस्वधाम्ना नमश्च हस्तचरणात् श्रवणात् त्वगादीन् प्राणान् नमो भगवते पुरुषाय तुभ्यम्। So let us chant the verse again. Suta uvacha aho vayam janma bhrutodhyahasma vruddhan vruttyapi viloma jataha doshkulyamadhim vidhunoti shighram mahattamanam vidhana yogaha. Sri Suta Goswami said, O God, although we are born in a mixed caste, we are still promoted in birthright simply by serving and following the great who are advanced in knowledge. Even by conversing with such great souls, one can without delay cleanse oneself of all disqualifications resulting from lower births. Kutah punar grinato nama tasya mahattamaikantaparayanasya Yonanta Shaktir Bhagavan Ananto Mahad Gunadvad Yamanantamahu. Translation. And what to speak of those who are under the direction of great devotees, chanting the holy name of the Unlimited, who has unlimited potency, the personality of Godhead, unlimited in potency, and transcendental by attributes, is called Ananta, unlimited. So very fascinating verses, lot to learn and lot to churn in these two verses. Very important points which are coming up here. So what verse comes to our mind when it comes to the 4 divisions in the society from Bhagavad Gita? Usually I talk all the time, so it would be helpful if we have some kind of inputs so that it will become more interesting and good discussion. So
Hare
what-
Krishna Prabhuji,
Krishna.
Is it Chaturvarnyam Hare Maya system Gun Karma Vibhagasha?
Yes,
Is that?
spot on, Nandaji. Thank you.
Thank
Yes.
you.
Yes. So, Chaturvarnyam Maya Shishtam Gunakarma Vibhagashaha. Tasya Kartaram Apimam Vidya Kartaram Avyayam. So, I don't know this. How come these blue lines came here? Something Leela of Zoom, probably. Anyway. So, translation is according to the 3 modes of material nature and the work associated with them, the 4 divisions of human society are created by me. And although I am the creator of this system, you should know that I am yet the non-doer, being unchangeable. So, what Lord is saying here is, He has created 3 modes of material nature, the work associated with them, and so the 4 divisions in human society. What are all the 3 modes of material nature we are talking about here? And how those are related to this 4 divisions in human society? Can anyone unmute and...
Is
Hare
it
Krishna. Sorry. Yeah, go on. Go ahead, ma'am.
Yes, Mataji, please.
It's the 3 modes of material natures are mode of goodness, passion, and ignorance.
Yeah.
So mode of goodness is Brahmanas,
Yeah.
and then mode of goodness and passion mixture is Kshatriya. Then Vaishya is mode of passion, a little bit of ignorance, and Shudra is mode of ignorance.
Okay. Thank you, Mataji.
Hare
So
Krishna.
that is easy to remember, but version, which is not wrong, but any person in the society, in the material world, is not purely in one mode of goodness, one mode of material nature. So it's always a mix. Brahmanas predominantly they are in mode of goodness because of their lifestyle and because of the work they do, because they have to teach and the teacher has to exemplify himself or herself. So naturally, what are the 6 duties of Brahmana? Yajan, Yajan, Pathan, Pathan, Dana, Pratigraha. So they are supposed to perform the sacrificial activities. They are supposed to facilitate to perform the sacrificial activities, and that teachers as well as the priests. The priest has to do it properly, otherwise that sacrificial activity will not have any effect, won't have any impact. So that is Yajan, Yajan. Da Pathan, Pathan. So that means the person has to learn properly and he has to teach as well. So the person who has learned it, what is that verse, which famous verse we have discussed several times? Janmana jayate shudraha samskarat dvija uchyate. Vedabhyasa pathet vipra brahma janati iti brahmanyam. In certain cases, Vedabhyasa bhavet vipra. There might be a change of some grammatical compositions because the original verse is from Manusmriti, and then we will find that in Skanda Puran, the different version in Vedanta Sutra, and so on and so forth. And then in the discussions of many acharyas as well. So, by birth, everyone is Shudra. But one who follows the practice of Yajan, Yajan, Pathan, Pathan, Pratigraha, Dhan, according to the Vedic structure, that means taking the austerities, initiation from the spiritual master and going further. So that person becomes qualified to teach pattern, and then accept the alms. The person is, because when you follow the religious Vedic scriptures properly, and when you follow the austerities, and when you have that realized knowledge, the person automatically becomes incredibly powerful. They unknowingly, or even if they don't desire, that person gets a lot of mystic powers, lot of siddhis. And that when the person gets a lot of mystic powers, automatically there is a very high possibility that the person will become very proud. So to subdue that tendency of becoming proud, of that pride, the important point for all the Brahmanas is to beg alms. And how much? Just required, whatever is required for that day. So what are you supposed to beg? Just simple grains. And when some very rich Vaishya or Kshatriya, when they give lot of alms, the Brahman keeps the alms only necessary for the sustenance of his life, and rest of the wealth what Brahmana gets in donation, they immediately distribute to other people, either to other Brahmanas or to Shudras especially. So that is how the society was structured, and it was looked after properly. And that is why the system of Chaturvarna system is very, very important, very powerful. You can imagine the person has tremendous mystic powers, but they don't use it for their sense gratification. The person has tremendous knowledge of Vedic knowledge, but the person is not charging money for that, or they are not expecting anything in return. They have a lot of followers, disciples in their ashram, in their hermitage, and those disciples are ready to give their life for that Brahmana, to their teacher. But still, the Brahmana is supposed to remain very detached. Such a powerful system it is. And obviously, that person becomes an advisor to the ruler, to Kshatriyas. So imagine if that kind of austere personality is an advisor to the Kshatriya, who has tremendous siddhi. For example, the first siddhi they used to get is vacha siddhi. If person says something that, yes, let this happen, just because they have said it, and because of that power, that thing will happen. And that we have seen in the later verses when it will come, when son of Shamik Rishi, Shringi, when he curses Maharaj Parikshit, it happened. In 7 days, Maharaj Parikshit was bitten by Takshak bird. That was the power of Brahman. That is Vacha Siddhi. Another is Prakti Siddhi. Why they were compelled to beg alms? Because Prakti Siddhi is one of the Siddhis. The person just has to desire and make certain mudra, and things will come in front of them. For example, if they want some gold, just by that Prakti Siddhi, the person can have gold in front of him. That kind of siddhis Brahmanas used to have because of their austerities. So this is the power of Varnashram Dharma. So the natural question comes to our mind is, Suta Goswami was Shudra or lower caste by birth, and he was sitting at the position of Vyasasan, and everyone was listening to him. So why there were no qualified Brahmanas at that time? Someone may ask this question. Second question, how come Suta Goswami became qualified to take that position of Vyasasan and being the head of the rishis who were sitting on the bank of the river in Naimisharanya, Gomati river? Natural questions will come to anyone's mind. And the reason is again given here, that Suta Goswami had that humility That's the first point. Second point, Suta Goswami was following the principles of Brahmana properly. Who was his spiritual master? Who was he listening from? From Shukadeva Goswami. He is one of the Mahajans. And he was guided by Shukadeva Goswami's father, Vyasadeva, as well. That kind of personality naturally becomes qualified. So, by birth, though he was not Brahmana, Janmana Jayate Shudraha, the samskar he received, he became Dvija automatically because he was accepted by Shukadeva Goswami. Vedabhyasa bhavet vipra. He did Vedabhyas, he did the study, he studied the Vedas very properly, diligently, and in a right mood from his teachers. Brahmajanati iti Brahmanyam. And he followed the austerities of humility, generosity, and everything, which is there in Daiva Asura Sampada Vibhag Yog chapter of Bhagavad Gita later. So you can go through that in your leisure time. What are all the qualities of divine and demons? I think in our last session we went through that as well. So this is what Suta Goswami's qualification is. And here Prabhupada says that this verse definitely proves that Srila Shukadeva Goswami did not refuse to teach Suta Goswami about the transcendental science, nor did the sages of Naimisharanya refuse to hear lessons from him because of his inferior birth. Why? And that's what we just talked about. That he followed the right principles of how to elevate oneself to that Brahminical culture, Brahminical stage. So, what is meant by why there is another question will automatically come to our mind, that what is the reason for high birth and what is the importance of that, and how this whole Jati Vyavastha, the caste system, came in the picture? And the answer is not very difficult for that. If someone is born in a Brahman family, of a very, very powerful Brahman person family, naturally that child will be inclined to follow what his father does and what his mother teaches him. Because the first teacher for the small child is always a mother. And then the father is setting an example of what to follow, how to behave in the society, and what his son should learn. If that is the case, naturally the son will be inclined to develop the Brahminical qualities, and the father will accept the son's desire and give him certain cultural details as well as the scriptural details. For example, in a what is that? Vratabandhan or Yajnopavit Sanskar, what earlier the Brahman sons used to have, is the father will give Gayatri Mantra to the son and give the first thread, sacred thread. The second, and because father was initially the father used to be the teacher, because he himself was running that ashram and he was such a powerful personality, they used to be. If not, then second aspect comes in the picture is if the father says that my son should go to the ashram and let the rishi or the teacher in that ashram decide what is the varna. And the example is once Gautam Rishi, who is the personality, who is the authority on Nyaya Shastra. Once a son of a maid servant went to Gautam Rishi and said, would you accept me as your disciple? And Gautam Rishi said, I should know your lineage, where you are coming from, who is your father, who is your mother, and everything about your background. And the son went to his mother and said, Mother, I want to know what is my lineage? Who is my father? And she was a maid servant. And in those earlier days, maid servants were not treated properly by many society people in the society, or you can say they were treated something like prostitutes. So the mother was honest. She said, I also don't know who is your father, and that's why I can't tell you. And she said that with tears in her eyes, and the son went back to Gautam Rishi. He was just 8-year-old son. And he said, Rishidev, I also don't know who is my father, and my mother also she doesn't know. So that means I don't have any clarity about my lineage. And Gautam Rishi said, that's fine, because you are honest, and honesty is the first qualification of Brahminical culture, of the Brahminical person. And that is why I accept you. And then Gautam Rishi accepted him as his disciple, and that person became one of the great rishis in his ashram. So that is when spiritual master accepts a person, that yes, now you are qualified, because spiritual master has that vision, tadvidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshanti te jnaninas tattvadarshinaha, because he has seen the principle of what is varnashram and who is fit for what position. And the second aspect is spiritual master can give you the sacred thread, give you the mantra, and that time you become dvija uchyate. So that's what here Prabhupada is giving us the example, or the not example, the principle what Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has said here. So Mahaprabhu, he dismantled that rigid system of castes, and then he accepted everyone, and that's what our movement also is. We giving that mantra, chanting the mantra was restricted to the Brahmanas in the earlier days, because they used to follow that culture properly. But when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to in this fallen age of quarrel and hypocrisy, he gave the supreme mantra, Mahamantra, to everyone, and that's how the Sankirtan movement started. That is the glory of the preaching, and that is said by the Supreme Lord himself, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and that's what Prabhupada is giving the details of it here. Who is the perfect example of that? Srila Haridas Thakur. He was born as Muslim, but he used to chant so many rounds, 121 rounds of the Mahamantra, which is practically I can't even imagine that. And Nama Acharya. Acharanam means to exemplify. So Arya means the civilized person who exemplifies certain very elevated behavior. That is called Acharya. That's the literal meaning. Nama Acharya, how to chant the holy name, that was perfected by Srila Haridas Thakur. And that's why Mahaprabhu himself gave him the upadhi, the title Namacharya. And that's why when we do our Prema Dhvani prayers, we chant after our spiritual master, we say Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai. And who has given this title? By God himself. So this paragraph here, I think we don't have a lot of time. Prabhupada talks about the association of the devotees, obviously association of the elevated, pure devotees. the example given here is if we associate with people who enjoy intoxication, automatically our mind will get tuned. There will be an attraction of the mind and towards intoxication, and intelligence will justify hundreds of reasons why intoxication is good for you. And what is the background reason behind it? The bad association, association of intoxicants. In the same way, on the other side, if there is an association of devotees, the person will, and if the person does not have that elevated consciousness, automatically the person will think that I need to improve, I need to work on the purification of my consciousness. And that's what Prabhupada is giving us here, that such is the power of pure devotees of the Lord. One can become like Ganga water, purified after taking bath in the waters of Ganges. But as far as great devotees of the Lord are concerned, they can purify a degraded soul even by being seen by the low-born, and what to speak of association. So we could see that in case of Gautam Rishi, even if that boy was not born of higher caste, but still, because of that quality, the person, the boy, was elevated to the stage of Rishi. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted to purify the whole atmosphere of the polluted world by sending qualified teachers all over the world, and it remains with the Indians, and we can see that now. After Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, till Srila Prabhupada, so many acharyas came, and they made their commentaries on the scriptures, and that's what we are following now. So sending qualified preachers, that's what it means. So, and Indians, now Bharatvarsha means not only, a lot of times it comes to a point that only people who are born in India or who are by race Indians take up this process. Yes, in one sense, Chaitanya Charitamrita says that very vividly, very openly, but at the same time, we need to understand the Guhyam Artha, the hidden meaning behind it as well. The person who has that consciousness of Bharatvarsha, of that Vedic consciousness, it is the task of that person to preach and spread the glories of Vedic culture and the holy name. So that's what this particular verse is telling us. The glories of Srimad Bhagavatam, obviously most important. We spoke about it in our last session. Mahattamanam Abhidhana, Dictionary of Great Devotees. As since Srimad Bhagavatam is the case study of Bhagavad Gita, of our law book. So case study means it's the Leela of the Lord, and that is why Srimad Bhagavatam is not different than Lord himself, because Lord's Leela and Lord are both on the absolute platform, and that's why we worship Srimad Bhagavatam as Lord himself. One interesting comment I was listening some time back is why Srimad Bhagavatam is so merciful, and so why there is so much of mellow rasa. It's why we relish it so much, because all incarnations, everything, what Lord's Leela is, it is there in Srimad Bhagavatam. So all incarnations of the Lord have come together, and those are there in the form of the Leela of the Lord. in Srimad Bhagavatam. So that is, I found that whole analogy and the details, the actual insightful description of what Srimad Bhagavatam is quite amazing, very, very fascinating. So if we go to the next verse, here it comes the association of devotees. Very important point of the association of the devotees. So in Bhagavad Gita, before Chaturvarnam Maya system, the verse is about the worship of demigods. Men in this world desire success in fruitive activities, and therefore they worship the demigods. Very quickly, of course, men get results from fruitive activities in this world. So again, in a 12th canto, Suta Goswami gives a very beautiful insight of how Lord empowers demigods to give the benedictions and to focus a person on their Ishta Dev, or on whatever demigod they want to worship. But that is because the person has material desires in their heart, and that's why Lord is saying, okay, you get exhausted with all your material desires, but finally you can never be happy, and you need to come back to me. And that's the reason the merciful Lord does that. If the same person understands that more than Srila Bhaktirasamrita Maharaj gives a very beautiful analogy. He says that going to demigods is like going to a shopkeeper. So you have money, that means you have pious credits. You went to the shopkeeper and said, okay, this is what the price you want for this item, maybe some intoxication, maybe some sweets, whatever. And the shopkeeper, as long as they get the money, they will give you that item, that what the desired item we are looking for. But where is that coming from? Who is supplying everything to the shopkeeper? The big supplier. Here in this case, for the demigods, is the Supreme Lord himself. Now, if the person goes to the parents and say, Father, I have got this much money, I have these pious credits, what shall I do? Means, can you give me this? And the father will say, okay, you have pious credits, but I know how to use your pious credits for your own good. And that is why Lord says that Manmana Bhavaman Bhakto, give everything to me. Yat karo yajjoshi yat karoshi yadashnasi dadasi yat tapasyasi kaunteya tat kurushva madarpanam. Do everything for me, Lord says. Why he says that? Initially he's saying Patra Pushpa Phalam Taram, only give me this much, I don't want. And then in the same chapter, Lord is saying that do everything for me. Is that a contradiction? No, it's not. Because initially Lord is saying, you have only little. You start giving that to me. And then when you will start that, eventually you will come to a point that everything is made for my worship. And all acharyas, including Lord Brahma, says that again and again in Srimad Bhagavatam. We won't have enough time to discuss those points because those are very beautiful details Lord Brahma says in 3rd canto and in 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. So Srila Prabhupada says that secret is the association of pure devotee of the Lord. Without association of the pure devotee of the Lord, nobody can come to the stage of unflinching faith and devotion to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says that in Shikshashtakam, Yatha tatha va vidadhatu lampado mat prananathastu sa eva naparaha. Whether you embrace me or you keep me aside, still you are my prananath, you are my worshipable Lord. And that's what Prabhupada is confirming here, that without association of pure devotee of the Lord, nobody can come to that stage of unflinching faith. So what our Sandarbha Acharya, Srila Jiva Goswami says about it. Srila Jiva Goswami says that akama, a person should be akama. Means kama is the literal meaning of kama means lust. And lust can be a gross lust on the bodily platform, or it can be a subtle lust, profit, adoration, and distinction. The person who has lost the lust of profit, adoration, distinction, and the gross lust, that person has only one desire, and that is to do the service. If the service is, obviously the service will be has to be in the right direction. That means you should be a Jivera Swarupa Krishna Nityadas. That akama is the one who has no material desire. A living being, naturally being part and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So the whole Purusham Puranam has as his natural function to serve the Supreme Lord. And it is like the analogy given here is of the machine. The machine, every part of that machine has to be there at the right position. Otherwise, that part has not much of value. It's not that useful. So, or the limbs of the body. Another example given here is, so naturally meant to serve the complete machine or the complete body. And that is why a lot of times it is said that nirvana or being desireless, that doesn't mean in Vaishnava Sampradaya, that doesn't mean being inert. That means to be conscious of one's actual position and thus desire satisfaction only from the Supreme Lord. And Jiva Goswami says that in the Sandarbha, he has written Priti Sandarbha, Bhakti Sandarbha, Tattva Sandarbha. He's the Sandarbha Acharya. Bhajaniya Parama Purusha Sukhamatra Swa Sukhatvam. That's what Srila Jiva Goswami says in his Sandarbha. And what that means is one should only feel happy by experiencing the happiness of the Supreme Lord. Very profound, very deep, very powerful sentence. This intuition of living being is sometimes manifested even during the conditioned stage of a living being in the material world. And such intuition is expressed in the manner of altruism, philanthropism, socialism, communism, and so many isms by the undeveloped minds of less intelligent persons. Who is saying this? 500 years back, Srila Jiva Goswami is saying this. That time there was no concept of socialism or communism. But as we just talked about, if the Brahminical person has that Brahmajanati iti Brahmanyam, what kind of isms will be coming in later time? They can visualize that, they can see that, and that's what Srila Jiva Goswami says. Obviously, he describes that in different aspects of degradation of society in his commentary on Srimad Bhagavatam's verses like Prayana Alpahisha Sarve Kalavasmin Yuge Janaha Manda Sumanda Matayo Manda Bhakya Vipadrita. That's the description of the Kali Yuga. How that will happen? So many nirupayogi, useless isms will come. This philanthropy, socialism, and all that. It will lead society towards chaos. So that's what the understanding of akama prakriti or akama spirit, and what is the right type of ism. Means the bhakti is the only platform. That's what our acharya, and especially the Sandarbha acharya Srila Jiva Goswami says this. And how to perform that bhakti, that's what Rupa Goswami has given us in Upadeshamrut and in Bhakti Rasamrut Sindhu. What 64 limbs of devotion Rupa Goswami says, and in those 64 limbs of devotion, he talks about the Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti, our daily setup, daily routine. And very mercifully, Srila Prabhupada has given us this daily setup of what we should be following every day. Chanting the holy name of the Lord, following 4 regulative principles very diligently, and studying the Prabhupada's books, our Acharya's book. For us, our Acharya is Srila Prabhupada. Having the right devotee association, following the proper diet. That's what the basic principles are. And doing our day-to-day work as a service to the Lord. So that means we will do it more properly, more diligently. And even if we don't like some of the work, the mood should be like what Lord Brahma says in 10th canto, that tattenu kampasu samikshmano bhunjana evatma kritam vipakam. Anything which unpleasant comes on my way, that is for my purification. That's how he takes that. That's how he gives the formula to the living entity in this material world. Who is giving this formula? The creator of this material world, Lord Brahma himself. So that's what these 2 verses are telling us here. This particular verse talks about the chanting of the holy name, 10 offenses we should be following, offenseless chanting. So 10 regulations for offenseless chanting. 10 offenses against the holy name, which is basically comes in a Padma Puran actually, in Sanskrit. But very mercifully, Prabhupada has given us the formula very nicely for a whole day. So that's what the discussion was about these 2 verses. That's basically it. Here, we will stop here. Are there any questions or additions or comments anyone would like to add? No questions? Okay. If there are no questions, then I'll stop here. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Sorry to interrupt, Prabhuji. We have bhajan tonight, Prabhuji. So,
Okay.
Hare Krishna, my Danot Pranam, all glory to Srila Prabhupada. So, we have Indira Mataji singing a beautiful bhajan. Before
Okay.
she starts, we have Orpita as well, who's going to be doing the bhajan recitation. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Okay. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. So I will stop sharing now. Okay. Someone
we
else
have
is sharing this.
yes, Orpita, when you're ready. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Hare Krishna. I offer pranam to Nanda, whose face is extremely delightful, in whose beautiful ears hang jeweled earrings, and whose entire body is anointed with fragrant candana. I offer pranam to Nanda, whose eyes are more beautiful than the fully bloomed lotus, whose head is beautifully adorned with an arrangement of peacock feathers, and who enchants millions of cupids. I offer pranam to Nanda, from whose beautiful nose hangs an elephant pearl, whose teeth are immensely effulgent, whose bodily complexion is more beautiful and lustrous than a fresh rain cloud. I offer pranam to Nanda, whose lotus hands hold the flute, whose lingering galt defeats even that of an impassioned elephant, and whose dark limbs are beautified by a yellow shawl. I offer pranam to Nandananda, whose threefold bending posture is exquisitely elegant, the effulgence of whose toenails put to shame even the moon, and who wears invaluable jewels and ornaments. I offer pranam to Nandananda, whose body exudes an especially beautiful fragrance, and whose broad chest is adorned with the Kastuba jewel and the mark of Srivatsa. I offer pranam to Nandananda, the expert lover of Vrindavan, who performs immaculate pastimes, and who is attired in clothes which are suitable for those pastimes, and who have pulverized the pride of Indra. I offer pranam to Nandananda, who, as the lover of Raja gopis, perpetually delights them, and who enchants the minds of all living entities. Whoever regularly recites this, Sri Nandanatsakam, will easily cross the seemingly insurmountable ocean of material existence and attain eternal residence at the lotus feet of Krishna. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, everyone. Dear devotees, please accept my voice today. It's not brilliant, but I'll try my very best with the mercy of Krishna. Sucharu Vraktamandalam Sukarnaratna Kundalam Sucharchitanga Chandanam Namami Nandanandanam Sudhirghanetra Pankajam Sikhi Shikandamurdajam Ananga Koti Mohanam Namami Nandanandanam Sunashikagramuktikam Swachandadantapanktikam Navam Budangachetanam Namami Nandanandanam Karena Venuranjitam Gati Kirendra Ganjitam Dukulapita Shobhanam Namami Nandanandanam Tribanga Deva Sundaram Nakadyuti Sukhakaran Amulya Ratna Bhushanam Namami Nandanandanam Sugandha Anga Suryabam Uru Virachi Kaustabam Spurachachitavastalanchanam Namami Nandanandanam Vrindavana Sunagaram Vilasanugavasasam Surendra Gavamochanam Namami Nandanandanam Virajangana Sunayakam Sada Sukha Pradayakam Jaganmana Pralopanam Namami Nandanandanam Shri Nandanandanashtakam Patheya Yaha Shraddhanvitha Tared Bhavityam Durstaram Labetad Angri Yugmakam Namami Nandanandanam Namami Nandanandanam Namami Nandanandanam Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Beautiful singing, Mataji. Hari Bol, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhuji, for the wonderful class. Thank you, Indira Mataji, for the lovely singing. Beautiful. And very nice recitation, Orpita. Thank you, everyone. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.